Chumash and Rashi, the Torah portion of the week, Parshas Teitzei. We continue with several mitzvahs. Interesting, fascinating laws. Let's pick it up where we left off from yesterday. We are in chapter 24 in Devarim, in the book of Deuteronomy, verse number 5. Learning the Torah portion with Rashi, giving the simple understanding of the verse. And the translation is a literal translation rather than contextual. So when you see the English, note that it will not be the way I will translate it for the most part, because the way it's translated is in context. Ki, when yikach, he takes, ish, a man, isha. So when a man takes a woman, meaning he's getting married. That's the term. We've used those terms before, right? Chadasha, a new wife. La Teitzei, he should not go out b'tzava to the army, meaning he's not obligated. But lo yaver alav, and it should not pass upon him, meaning to obligate him, right? He's exempt, in other words, l'chol davar, to anything. In other words, well, we'll see what that means, because we just said shouldn't go to the army. Now for anything, that's something added. We'll see what Rashi says. Naki, free, exempt. He will be lebeisa. He'll be free to go to his home. Shana achas, for 1 year. He'll be free to go to his home for 1 year. In other words, he doesn't have to. He's not obligated to serve in the army. And he should gladden his wife that he took. Okay. So, I just want to help you to be discerning. Are you with me, folks? Are you somewhere else? So listen to here, to help you to be discerning in the words. So, Isha Chadasha, the fact that he says a new wife, right? There's an exactingness over there, right? And as we said, Lo Yaver Alav, like says he doesn't have to go to the army, then Lo Yaver Alav is something additional, right? Then he has to be that he is free to his home, right? There's an exactingness in that terminology, right? For 1 year. Okay, that's clear. That he has to gladden his wife. Also, something unique. Asher Lakach, that he took. Well, obviously that he took. What do you mean he took? What does that mean? I don't know if Rashi picks that up. Okay, let's look now in Rashi. Number 5 in Rashi, Isha Chadasha, anu wife. She Chadasha Lai means it's new to him. Bafila Almana, even if she's a widow. Prat Lamaxik Rushasai, this excludes someone who takes back a woman that he divorced. Right? Remember, we learned that yesterday? We learned yesterday that if a man marries a woman and then divorces her and she marries somebody else, he cannot remarry her, right? If she gets divorced or he dies, the second husband, right? He cannot remarry her, which means he could remarry her if she didn't marry someone else, right? But now this verse is speaking about that someone who's not obliged to go out in the army is only someone that's new, chadasha, it's new to him. Meaning she could be almana, right? She's a widow. I mean, she already got married. Not about her being new, it's new to him, right?
Why doesn't it say grusha?
What do you mean?
A divorced woman.
Because
why can't he?
So that means
woman? She's new to him.
I don't. Oh, you mean why does Rashi say almana?
Yeah, and it's not. It's excluding
a divorced woman. You mean? You mean why is he saying that? By the way, if If the verse meant to say, his first wife, right? So I don't know if it excludes that, but it's a good question why he only says that, because why not saying both? If it would have meant that it's his first wife and she's first, and if the verse would have said that he marries a psula, right? Because we have that terminology that he married a woman that's a virgin, right? But it doesn't mean that. That's why it says chadasha means it's new to him, not that she's new, right? So it could mean. So, anyways, that's a good question. I'm not certain. Okay, next. Love. Huh?
The words ve'afilu that adding.
So yeah, but it should be afilu grusha. No, so yeah, but grusha would be less. It should be afilu grusha.
He said afilu grusha.
No, he doesn't. No, he says afilu almana.
Sorry.
Widow.
Afilu almana.
Yeah. Anyway, it's a good question. Okay. Love, and he should not nor shall he be obligated, meaning Passover. That literally means Passover, right? Yavor means pass. Pass him, any matter of the army. In other words, there's fighting in the army, but there's also fixing the roads in the army, right? Which is not fighting. There's different, right? Even that, right? So that's the addition. Okay, because first it said not in the army. Now, I mean, right? Obligate him over anything, huh?
If you're home every night, if you go to the army, you're home every night. I have my nephew he's in the army, but he's at home every night.
No, because you're in the army. You're in the army. I don't think that, maybe, but it's a good question. Good question. Yeah. Okay. The whole davar for any matter, shehut tzarich hatzava that is required by the army, the second mine mazain, not to supply water and food. So here, the second derachim, not to fix the roads. But those who return from battle formations, al pikoyin, by the word of the koyin, kigoyin, like someone who bana bayis, like someone who built a home. This we learned last week, if you recall, in last week's Torah portion. One who built his house but did not inaugurate it. Or he betrothed a woman but not married her, they do supply water and food, and fix the roads. In other words, because it says over here specifically, right, this added phrase, so it's only in this instance. But last week when we spoke about someone who built a home but didn't inaugurate it, married, betrothed but didn't get married yet, right? Remember, back then it was two separate time periods. Betrothal just means you are married to each other, but you're not living together yet. 6 months, a year later, they would have the chuppah that they would live together, right? So those people have to do these other kind of jobs, like fixing the roads and so on. Yeah, say he should be free to his house. For his house as well. If he built a house, if he built a house and he inaugurated it, not to Kerem, or he planted a vineyard and he rendered it profane, and his husband basically he does not budge from his house, for the requirements of war. It says for his house. This refers to his house. He shall be. The rabbis his karma to include his vineyard. Okay, the base say. 1 second. Another, it should have said the verse that he's naki hu lebeisai, that he is free for his house, but he says naki iya lebeisai, that he shall be. So it means that it shall be for something more. You get the implication? You get the nuance over here? You have to know a little more Hebrew to appreciate this. He should be for his house. It should be tihia, the Beisai, but it doesn't say that. So it means to imply that he for his house means there's a greater implication that he is to his house, which includes even his vineyard. That's the idea here. The simach, yisamach is ishtay, he shall gladden his wife, because the word simach is a causative verb. So he has to gladden his wife. And his Targum Unkelis translates that he shall gladden his wife. But there are those that translated he shall be glad with his wife. Toyahu is a mistake. Not that you're glad with your wife, right? Right. This is where you get the idea. Happily married, I'm happy and I'm married. Right? Not here, it doesn't say be happy with your wife. It doesn't say that. It says you're right. It says make your wife happy. You're happy not because you're married, because you are happy. Right?
We don't know. We don't know about that, Rabbi.
So and that's what it means. Rather, right? Okay.
One is making somebody happy, and
One is being happy.
himself.
Being happy. Yeah.
But the emphasis here is on making her happy.
Right. Rashi just brought down that there is someone who translates it, one of the translators, that be happy with your wife, right? That the mitzvah is to be happy with your wife. Rashi says that's a mistake, because then it would say samach im ishtay, right? Simach es ishtay, but it says simach, which is a causative verb, which means you have to cause the happiness. So you're causing it for your wife, right? Not that you're happy with her. Because a man has to be happy not because of his wife. A woman is different. Right. And that gets back to Adam and Eve. Man is created from the earth. She's created from him. So she, being connected to him, will be happy. Right? But man isn't happy because of his wife. He's happy because he's a creation of God. It comes from him, so she is happy because of the connection that she has to him. And that's very important to appreciate that in your marriage. A lot more to talk about that, but not now. All right. Okay. Thank you, Shmuel. Okay, huh? What?
A great class in itself.
Yes.
Going on.
Is there? Okay. Thank you, Shmuel. Okay, next. Verse number 6. Lo yachvol reichayim varechev. Lo yachvol means do not take a pledge of a reichayim, of a mill or a grindstone as a pledge. Ki nefesh hu chayvel, because you're taking the life as a pledge. Let me explain. If I were to borrow from you money and you want to get collateral, that's called a pledge. Okay. I'm pledging something to you as a collateral, which is fine. You could do that, but you can't take a person's livelihood. That's what this verse is coming to say. In other words, their millstone, right? Their millstone or their grinding stone, right? As a farmer working the land, I need that in order that I can make my livelihood. So you can't take something that is a necessity for the person's livelihood. That's the basic idea of the verse. Got it? It's number 6 in Rashi. One should not take a mill or a grindstone as a pledge. If he comes to take collateral for the debt in court. In other words, you may, you let someone was lent money, and then afterwards the guy wants to go to court to get a collateral from him because he realizes that he's not getting paid so fast, right? In other words, there isn't a limitation that you can that you have to take collateral only at the time of the loan.
How do you go from making your wife happy?
To this, excellent question. I'm also wondering that.
There's
Uh-huh.
a few passages like that.
Yeah.
that change all the
And Rashi often has asked the question and given us the answer, the juxtaposition. We had at the beginning of the Torah portion, right? The three things of when you go out to battle and the Ashes Yafas Tayar and you know the woman that that the soldier takes, right? As a wife, and right, then you had the rebellious son, and then we had after that. So Rashi went and explained that. Here he doesn't do that. And I'm sure there are commentators that do, but Rashi doesn't. Okay, so when it comes to take collateral for his debt in court, do not take collateral in things that he prepares his food. Rechaim, a mill, is the lower millstone. Verechav, a grindstone, is the upper one. Right? There's two stones. Okay. Good question. But next, say verse number 7. When you find a man who kidnaps, it says goinev means to steal, but in the context it means kidnapping a nefesh, because you see what you're kidnapping a person. You're not stealing an item, but it's a nefesh, soul. Meyacha from his brothers, Bnei Israel, from the children of Israel, these Amr boy, and you enslave him, and then you sell him, Umesa Ganav, and he will die, this thief, this thief, and you should destroy the evil from amongst you. So what does it mean, kiyamatze? It's a funny terminology. When you find, what do you mean you find? How are you finding him? Following, folks? Follow the question? What does it mean to find? So Rashi says, Be'edim v'asra. This means witnesses to the sin and warning preceding. So in other words, witnesses saw this person stealing, kidnapping somebody, and they warn him, don't do that. And if you do, it's punishable by the death sentence. Don't do it. And he goes and does it, right? Pain, and similarly, we interpret every time it says it means, what do you mean you find? What does it mean to find? You're finding, meaning witnesses found the person, or means that witnesses warned the person, rather. The Samar boy, you enslaved him. Ein chayev.
This is part of the Ten Commandments that not to steal is actually refers
Right.
to.
Right, exactly. Right, yep. Exactly. So he's not liable to the death penalty until he uses him, makes him to perform labor. The death sentence is only in this instance that you used him to perform labor, and then you sold him. That has to be part of the of what the person did in order to be liable to death sentence. Verse number 8. You should be careful about the affliction of tzaras, the skin condition of tzaras. To be very careful and to act yoru in accordance as all has a yoru, which means has instructed eschem to you, HaKohanim, Halevim, the Kohanim who are Levites. As you've been commanded, Tishma Lasois, you shall heed, you should be careful, Lasois, to perform. So what does this mean over here? What do you got to be careful over here? Well, what's the carefulness that verse is telling us?
What
that-
Kohanim said.
Huh?
What
Let's
the
see
Kohanim
Rashi.
said.
No, the Rashi picks up on that, right? No, it's a question, right? It's a question. What's the proof? Rashi explains it, right? In other words, the term. It's not right. We have to be careful that when we read a verse, we can read it very general, but not being specific, right? Not being specific. So we need to be specific in the term, right? So what's there to be careful about? Just listen what they say. Why do you have to be careful, right? Rashi picks up on that, and he says, right? Take care, be careful about the tzaras affliction. That you shall not tear away the signs of impurity. Or you shall not cut off the beheres. In other words, it's making us. It's saying that the signs of this affliction, maybe it's itchy, maybe it doesn't look nice, and you want to take it off. Not allowed to.
That's a person who's afflicted.
This is what person's afflicted. You may want to take it off, right? It's bothering you, or it's unpleasant, right? It doesn't look nice. So, so the verse is saying, no, don't do that. Losi says the beheres, don't cut off the beheres. Right? Why? Because you have to bring it, because what do you have to do? The verse continues and says, because you have to follow what the Kohen tells you. Because if you do, then the Kohen can't really see what the affliction is and then give an adjudication of law of what you need to do. Whether is it really an affliction that you have to now purify yourself, right? Or is it not an affliction and you're okay? So don't do that. You're not allowed to.
Going with the dermatologist.
Exactly. According to everything that the Kohen Levite instructs you, im laskir, whether to close off, im la'achlid, or to declare it definitively as an affliction, im latayr, or to declare it pure. Right? 3 options that it could have been. So, yeah, we're good. Amazing. Okay, verse number 9. Zochar, remember, saw that which was done, Hashem, your God did, to Miriam, Baderech, on the path, when you went out of Egypt. Wow. It seems like a hodgepodge of mitzvahs here, huh? And Rashi is not addressing it. Not necessarily is it a question always in the simple understanding of the text. What's the proof that Rashi doesn't always explain it? Why sometimes he does and sometimes he doesn't, I'm not certain.
Could it be because there's a sense of urgency? He's like Moshe is giving instructions because
Thank you.
Just
one
one.
of his final days, and he's because of the different commandments that seem to be not related one to another. Could it be because Moshe feels a sense of urgency? And
That doesn't explain the order. That just, that doesn't, why is this next to that? That doesn't explain that, right? Right. It's still, that would still need an explanation. And you're right though, that there is a sense of urgency because he's passing away soon, right? He's passing away soon. So he's got to give over all the mitzvahs, and so on and so on, the empowerment of the people and so on.
Mhm.
But yeah.
One of the 6 memorances.
Yeah.
It's clear because she did Lashon Hara, she got leprosy.
Oh, okay.
Talking about the.
Oh, okay. Thank you. You're right. Okay, so this is clear. Thank you. Yes. So this juxtaposition, Rashi doesn't have to explain because we already know it from when it happened in Parshas Ba'aloischa. That's where it was originally. She was stricken with leprosy herself because she spoke Lashon Hara. So that's the juxtaposition to the previous. Oh yes. I don't know why I didn't think of that, but thank you, Chaim. Perfect. Yes. Okay, and actually Rashi is going to say that. Remember what Hashem did to Miriam in Bos of Zohar. If you wish to take care, not to be stricken by tzaras, which was the previous verse of the skin disease. Don't speak derogatorily. The Miriam, remember what was done to Miriam. She spoke against her brother Moshe. And she was stricken with the affliction of tzaras. Yes, so Rashi explains it to us. Okay. Verse number 10. When you will hold your fellow in a debt. Mases me'uma. A masa is a burden of something, meaning an amount that he owes. So you lent out money. So it's interesting that this is here again when we spoke about before. So it's totally out of order, right? Because we spoke about before not taking collateral, right? That is something that a person needs to use to eat from. And now it's speaking again about collateral, right? So don't come to his home, to take his security, right? What did he do before when he wanted security? What did he do? We learned it. Yeah, but he went to Basin. He went to the court. He went to the court. He didn't come to the person and take it from him. We're talking about after the loan. When you make up, here, I'm lending you $1,000, I want collateral. So that's different when you're making up at that time. But afterwards, right, is what we spoke about before. And huh?
The loan is due or whatever. So he's coming
Yeah.
back.
Yeah, let's see 10 in Rashi. What does that mean? To hold against a debt against your fellow. Yeah, but okay. Asis mu'uma, a debt of any amount, chayv shel klum, any debt at all, right?
I don't think it's any death at all. It's a death of nothing.
No, means at all.
It's meaningless.
No.
No.
No. This means a debt that is not as a result of a loan, a purchase on a credit. Means the smallest amount of a loan, the slightest amount of a loan. That's what it means. Okay, verse number 11.
Mhm.
So it continues now. Bachutz tamoy, stand outside. Va'ish, and the man asher ata nesha, that you have a debt against. Boy, yoytze yalecha, he shall come out to you as ha'aved achutza, with the security outside. Others don't go in home. Okay, you know what? I'm going to take this as security. I'll take that as security. Don't do that. Wait outside. He'll come out with what the security is. Okay. Be'im ish anihu, and if the person is an ani, meaning a poor person, like tishka ba'avaita, don't lie down with his collateral, with his security. Let's see what does that mean? Like tishka ba'avaita. Let's see Rashi. It's an unusual term, right? What does it mean? Don't lie down when you go to sleep with the security. Like tishka ba'avaita esacha. Don't lie down to sleep, and his security is in your possession. What does that mean? We really need to see the next verse, right? It doesn't mean, by the way, over here, it doesn't mean over here, don't sleep in his security. Otherwise, let's say you took pajamas, right? As a security. It doesn't mean not to sleep in the pajamas. Why not?
It doesn't fit the safe.
What if it does fit? Because that would be like taking interest, because you're benefiting from the security, right? This is an interest-free loan that you gave the person, because to a Jew, you have to give an interest-free loan, right? So you now taking collateral, fine, but if it was PJs, you can't sleep in it because then you're getting a benefit. Therefore, you're getting a benefit from the loan, and you're not allowed to benefit from the loan. That would be called a form of interest. Okay.
So he gave him the pajama.
So it means he's just putting the PJs or whatever it is, and not using it. And that's what it means. Like tishka ba'avoite. Don't lie down with the security, not in the security. In the PJs, right? That can't mean that because you're not allowed to do that. Right? That's what Rashi said, va'avoite etzlacha, and the security is in your possession. It's in your possession, as opposed to that you are using it. Because you can only keep the security in your possession. There's no benefit in having the security. What's the benefit of security? One word. Security. Then you have security that the loan will be paid back. That's right. That's it. Is that clear?
It isn't you have that security.
Exactly. Right. That's the concept of security. Right. That's what it means. You have to give it back. He pays back the loan. But we're not finished. Let's learn the next verse. It's a continuation, not to make sure we have clarity over here. Because because in verse 12, right? So it says, right, that so if he's a poor man, do not lie down to sleep with his security. Well, so don't lie down with it. That right? What does it mean? So next verse. Hashiv tashiv loy, return, you shall return it to him as avit, his security, kivayashemish, when the sun sets, vishalcha bisam losai, and he will then be able to lie down with his garment. In others, it's his PJs. He's only got one pair, he's poor. So you have to return it to him at night so he can sleep in his PJs. That's what it means. Literally. Right? And you have to return it to him. Your security. Where's your security? So you'll take a security that you can keep overnight. Another security, right? There's another verse elsewhere that will bring the opposite. Here it's about security of something that he needs at night, that he uses at night. You got to return it to him. He needs his PJs, right? And bless you. And for you, this will be an act of tzedakah, of righteousness, lifnei Hashem, before Hashem Elokecha, your God. Let's see Rashi in 13. The sun sets, if it's a night garment, right? PJs, a night garment. So it's returned in the morning. It's already been written about. In Ve'el Mishpatim, that's in Parshas in the book of Exodus. Until the sun sets, you should return it to him. Which means, return it to him for the entire day. When the sun sets, take it from him. So there, we already learned that you could take something that he does, right, that something that he needs for the day, you have to return it to him, right? Let's say it's his axe, and he chops wood. Well, during the day he needs it. At night he doesn't. He's not chopping wood at night. So you can take that as security, right? But yeah, what do you have to do in the morning? Return it to him. You have to return it. This verse is speaking about that which he needs at night. Right? We didn't speak about that. So security, take that which he needs at night. Thank you. That which he needs at night, return it to him. Return his PJs so he can sleep at night. In the morning, what do you do with it? Take it back. Now, this is just giving us a parameter of the law. Obviously, you could take something that he doesn't need day or night, but this is saying that the poor person, that if this is what he needs, he needs it because this is all he has. You got to return it to him so he could live. Got it?
So this specifies for the poor person with the treatment of somebody who's wealthier would be different.
The treatment?
Yeah.
You don't have to return it to him.
No, but
If he's wealthy and he's a wood chopper and he's got 10 axes, so you take one axe. Doesn't need 10 axes. You don't have to return it to him until he pays his loan. Does that make sense?
Question is, how do you define someone who is poor?
What do you
Does the
mean?
law consider that?
What do you mean? A poor person needs a loan.
Yeah, but.
We're talking about you lend
You
him.
know, I understand, but how do you define a poor person? Is there a way in which you can define who's poor because he has?
If it's his only PJs,
Yeah.
then you gotta return it to him. It's his only PJs. Whatever, that's over Rambam. That's Rambam already. That's not here. That Rambam gives the specific parameter. That's not our job over here. Let's remember what we're doing over here. We're learning Chumash. We have to understand what the pasuk is saying. The further parameter of that is not the discussion over here. That's Rambam. Rambam will deal with what is the most specific parameter of the law, right? What's the definition poor, and that might not always be biblical. It might be sometimes rabbinic, that parameter. Sometimes it'll be biblical based on, right? Based on the verses and how they're understood, right? But good question. Well, we'll have to wait for that one.